I buried my father on a Thursday. Gray sky. Cold rain. The whole cliché. I was standing at his casket, trying to figure out what to say, when I saw her. A woman I'd never met. Standing across the grave. Crying like she'd lost her husband. And next to her, 2 kids. A boy. Maybe 15. Wearing the same black suit I was wearing. And I swear to God, he had my face. Same jawline. Same eyes. Same confused expression as he stared back at me. That's when it hit me. My dad didn't just die. The man I thought I knew, the guy who taught me to ride a bike, who walked me through my first heartbreak, who I trusted, that man never existed. He was a lie. A character. A mask my father wore for one of his 2 families. And I was about to find out. I might not even be the family he chose.
There's a saying in my line of work: the dead keep no secrets. They just stop defending them. Today's story isn't about a cheating husband. It's not about a liar who got caught. This is about a man who built 2 complete lives. 2 wives. 2 families. 2 versions of himself. Running in parallel for over 15 years. And when he died, those 2 worlds collided at his funeral. What followed was a war. For inheritance. For legitimacy. For the right to grieve. But more than that, it was a son trying to answer one impossible question. Did my father ever actually love me? Or was I just the other family? This is his story.
Let me give you some context before we get into the insanity. I'm 27. I grew up in a town called Ridgemont, nice place, nothing special. Suburbs. Good schools. The kind of place where everyone knows your name and your business. My dad was a regional sales manager for a medical equipment company. That's what he told us, anyway. He traveled a lot. Like, a lot. 2-3 days a week sometimes. But that was normal for us. That was just Dad's job. He'd leave Monday morning, come back Wednesday night. Sometimes Thursday. And when he was home, he was present. That's what kills me. He wasn't some checked-out, distant father. He coached my little league team. He helped me with college applications. He cried at my graduation. I thought we were close. I thought I knew him. My mom called me on a Tuesday. I was at work. I do IT for a logistics company, nothing glamorous. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Your father, there was an accident, he's gone. Car crash. Some drunk driver ran a red light. Dad was dead before the ambulance arrived. I don't remember driving to my parents' house. I don't remember the next 2 days. It was all a blur of crying and casseroles and relatives I hadn't seen in years showing up with sympathy cards. The funeral was scheduled for Thursday. Small church. Family and close friends only. Or so we thought. We got to the church early. Me, my mom, my younger sister Emily. We were sitting in the front row, trying to hold it together, when people started filing in. And that's when I saw them. A woman. Mid-40s. Blonde. Dressed in black like she was the widow. And 2 kids. A girl, maybe 12. And a boy. Teenager. Lanky, awkward, wearing a suit that didn't quite fit. I didn't recognize any of them. I figured they were coworkers or distant relatives or something. But then my mom saw them. And she went white. Not sad white. Not grief white. I've just seen a ghost, white. She grabbed my arm. Her nails dug into my skin. Who is that woman? She whispered. Why is she here? I didn't have an answer. But something in my gut already knew. The woman walked up to the casket. She touched my father's hand. She started crying. Not polite funeral crying. Widow crying. And the boy, the teenager, he was standing behind her, staring at the body. That's when I got a good look at his face. And I swear to you, it was like looking in a mirror. 15 years ago. Same nose. Same jawline. Same way he held his shoulders when he was uncomfortable. That kid was my father's son. Which meant. My mom figured it out the same second I did. She stood up. Her chair scraped against the floor. Everyone turned to look. Who are you? She didn't ask. She demanded. The blonde woman looked at my mom. Then at me. Then at her own son. And she said the words that ended my entire understanding of my life. I'm Patricia. I'm Richard's wife. And these are his children. I know I sound dramatic. But I need you to understand, my father was married to my mother for 31 years. I have their wedding album. I've seen the photos. And this woman was claiming she was also his wife. My mom started screaming. Not words. Just sound. Pure rage and confusion and grief all exploding at once. Emily was crying. The other woman, Patricia, was crying. The two kids were frozen. I was frozen. And my father? He was just lying there in his casket. Finally out of lies to tell.
There's a particular kind of cruelty in a posthumous betrayal. The living can apologize, explain, beg for forgiveness. The dead? They just leave you with questions. And the people standing across the room, the ones wearing your face, they don't have answers either. They're just as lost as you are. But grief has a funny way of turning into something else. Something harder. Something sharper. Because once the shock wore off, the real war began.
The funeral was a disaster. Obviously. My mom had to be physically escorted out by my uncle. She was screaming about lawyers and fraud and that whore, her words, not mine. I stayed. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to understand. Patricia and her kids stayed too. We ended up in the church parking lot, standing about 20 feet apart, just staring at each other. Her son, I found out later his name is Marcus, he was the one who walked over first. Did you know? He asked me. His voice cracked. No, I said. Did you? No. And that was it. That was our whole conversation. But in that moment, I realized something important. They weren't the enemy. They were victims too. Over the next few weeks, the whole ugly picture came into focus. My dad had been living a double life for 15 years. He met Patricia at a conference in 2008. She lived in Greendale, a town about 45 minutes from Ridgemont. Close enough to visit, far enough that the two worlds never intersected. He married her. Actually married her. A small courthouse ceremony. We found the certificate later. Which meant my mom was his legal wife. And Patricia's marriage? Legally void. But they didn't know that. Patricia thought she was married. Her kids thought they had a father who loved them and came home every Wednesday through Friday. Wednesday through Friday. The days he told us he was traveling for work. Every business trip. Every conference. Every late night at the office. It was all a lie. A perfectly maintained, logistically impressive lie. I did the math. My dad was essentially working 2 full-time jobs, being a father to 2 families, for a decade and a half. He had 2 mortgages. 2 sets of bills. 2 Christmas traditions. 2 anniversary dinners. I found out later he had 2 cell phones. 2 email accounts. 2 everything. But here's what really broke me. Marcus, my half-brother, he showed me photos on his phone. Photos of my dad at his baseball games. At his birthday parties. At his high school graduation. I remembered those weekends. I remembered asking my dad to come to my games. And he'd say he had work. He was busy. Maybe next time. There was always a next time. Except there wasn't. He was choosing. Every single day, he was making a choice. And sometimes, a lot of times, he didn't choose me. That's when the grief stopped feeling like grief. It started feeling like rage.
A double life requires two things: deception and logistics. Most cheaters fail at the second. They slip up. They get caught. But the truly committed ones? They build systems, calendars, alibis, entire infrastructures of dishonesty. And when they die, those systems collapse, leaving behind two shattered families fighting over the rubble. But the real battle? It wasn't about grief anymore. It was about money. Because someone had to inherit. And both families thought it was them.
2 weeks after the funeral, my mom got a call from my dad's lawyer. Well, one of his lawyers. Turns out he had two of those too. The lawyer, Mr. Hendricks, told my mom she needed to come in for the reading of the will. Standard stuff. Except when she got there, Patricia was already in the waiting room. With her lawyer. My mom called me from the parking lot afterward, and she was shaking so hard she could barely talk. "They have a will," she said. "A different will. Dated after ours. See, we had a copy of my dad's will. He'd shown it to us years ago. Standard stuff, everything goes to my mom, then split between me and Emily when she passes. But Patricia? She had a new will. Dated 8 months before my dad died. And according to that document, she was the primary beneficiary. Her kids were included. We weren't. My mom lost her mind. She was screaming about fraud, about manipulation, about Patricia being a gold-digging homewrecker who forged documents. And look, I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something didn't add up. We hired a lawyer. A good one. Expensive. The kind of guy who wears 3-piece suits and bills by the minute. His name was David Chen, and the first thing he told us was, "This is going to get ugly. Prepare yourselves." He wasn't wrong. The next 3 months were a nightmare of depositions, document requests, and accusations. My mom's position: the new will was forged or obtained under duress. Patricia manipulated my father. She's not entitled to anything. Patricia's position: she was a legitimate spouse, even though technically she wasn't, legally. My father chose to update his will. He wanted to provide for his children. We were trying to steal from her kids. Both sides had lawyers sending nasty letters. Both sides had family members making threats. And me? I was stuck in the middle, trying to figure out the truth. Here's what we learned during discovery. My father had been moving money around for years. He'd been quietly transferring assets into accounts we didn't know about. Accounts that Patricia had access to. He'd also taken out a second life insurance policy. Guess who the beneficiary was? Not my mom. The more we dug, the worse it got. My father hadn't just been cheating on my mom. He'd been preparing. For years. Like he knew this day would come and he wanted to make sure his other family was taken care of. Which made me wonder, were we the backup family? Were we the ones he was trying to phase out? I'm gonna be honest with you. There was a point where I almost gave up. Not just on the legal battle. On everything. My whole childhood felt like a lie. Every memory I had of my father was contaminated. Every "I love you" felt hollow. Every moment he chose to be with us, I wondered if he was wishing he was somewhere else. I started going to therapy. Best decision I ever made. My therapist said something that stuck with me. She said, "Your father's actions don't erase your experiences. Your childhood was real. Your relationship was real. It just wasn't the whole picture." That helped. A little. But I still wanted answers.
There's a question at the heart of every inheritance battle. It's not about money. Not really. It's about love. About who mattered. About who the deceased chose. And when the deceased chose two families. When he built two lives and maintained both until the very end. The answer isn't clean. It isn't satisfying. But sometimes the truth is hiding in plain sight. In an attic. In a box. In the words someone was too afraid to say while they were alive. And for this family, that's exactly where it was.
6 months after the funeral, my mom asked me to help her clean out the attic. She was selling the house. Said she couldn't live there anymore. Too many memories. Too many lies soaked into the walls. I didn't want to do it. I'd been avoiding that house like it was radioactive. But she needed help, and she was still my mom. So I went. We were sorting through boxes, old Christmas decorations, my baby clothes, random junk my dad never threw away, when I found it. A shoebox. Taped shut. Hidden behind some old luggage. My mom didn't recognize it. Neither did I. I opened it. Inside, there were letters. Dozens of them. Handwritten. And they were all from my dad. To us. To me, to Emily, to my mom. Letters he never sent. I read them all that night. Took me hours. I was crying the whole time. He explained everything. Or tried to. He met Patricia during a low point in his marriage. My parents had been fighting a lot back then. I was too young to notice. He never meant to fall in love with her. He never meant to start a second family. But he did. And once Marcus was born, he couldn't walk away. I know I'm a coward, he wrote. I know I should have told the truth. But I couldn't choose. I loved both my lives. I loved all my children. And I convinced myself that as long as I kept everyone happy, it wasn't really a lie. He talked about the guilt. How it ate at him every day. How he considered coming clean 100 times but could never go through with it. He talked about the updated will. I changed my will because Patricia has nothing without me. Your mother has the house, her career, her family. Patricia has no one. If something happens to me, I need to know my other children won't end up on the street. He wasn't trying to cut us out. He was trying to balance two impossible obligations. And the last letter? It was dated a week before he died. I've made a decision. I'm going to tell everyone the truth. Next Sunday. I'm going to sit both families down and finally be honest. I don't expect forgiveness. I just can't live like this anymore. I'm so tired. I'm so sorry. I love you all. I always did. He never got that Sunday. I don't know how to feel about that letter. Part of me is angry. If he'd just told the truth years ago, none of this would have happened. We could have dealt with it. We would have survived. Part of me is heartbroken. He was going to come clean. He was finally ready to face the consequences. And then some drunk driver took that chance away. And part of me, a small, sad part, is relieved. Because at least now I know. He did love me. He was just too broken to show it properly. We settled the estate out of court. My mom fought it for a while, but eventually, she accepted reality. Dad's finances were complicated, and splitting things was the only way to avoid a legal battle that would drain everyone. She got the house. The original life insurance. Most of the savings. Patricia got the second policy. Some of the investments. Enough to get by. Me and Emily. We split our share with Marcus and his sister. 50/50ths. Fair, all things considered. I don't talk to Patricia. I don't think I ever will. But Marcus? We text sometimes. Nothing deep. Just checking in. Memes, mostly. He's in college now. Engineering. He seems like a good kid. I guess that makes sense. He's my brother.
So what's the lesson here? Is it that secrets always come out? That liars get what they deserve? Maybe. But I think it's simpler than that. The dead don't get to explain themselves. They leave behind messes and mysteries and questions that will never be fully answered. And the living? They're left to pick up the pieces, to decide whether to forgive or to hold on to anger, to build something new or to stay stuck in the wreckage. This son lost his father twice. Once to a car accident, once to the truth. But he gained something too. A brother he never knew, a perspective he never had. And maybe, just maybe, a chance to be better than the man who raised him. Because legacy isn't about money. It's not about wills or estates or who gets the house. Legacy is about what we leave behind. The memories, the lessons, the wounds, and sometimes the truth. Until next time.